Welcome back. What I have here is a video that will cover an approach for creating the individual memorandum development assignment that was due on Monday night. So let's take a look and discuss the thought process that is required when we do a situation analysis and likewise then the creation of a memorandum. First of all, some considerations we need to take into view as we begin the preparation of this memo. Now, these same situations or considerations can be used for other memos, can be used for reports, can be used for letters, and so on, but something we have to think about. So let's look at the situation itself. What is an overview of the situation? Well, in this particular case, as you recall, we have information that we need to pass along to a select group of employees within the company we work. Now, again, this is not new information. This is a reminder of information. So, with that in mind, let's take a look. Who would be or who are the twos in this particular case? Well, some people may think that, well, this should go to all employees within the company, all staff within the company. Well, in this particular case, there are only two specific groups that need to look at this information, and that's the day shift and the swing shift employees. Therefore, the two would be day shift, swing shift employees, or something to definitely suggest that. If we were to send it to everyone else within the company, it would be unnecessary since the requirements do not pertain to them. Taking a look at who is this from? Well, this would be from you. Now, if you like, you would put your name and obviously maybe give yourself a title if you wish to do that. The subject here again, as I mentioned a little bit ago, is that it is a reminder of parking guidelines. It is not new guidelines. It is we need to be very specific that it is a reminder. If we say it is new, updated, anything of that nature, employees who are well aware of the guidelines will be looking for something unique and not be able to find it. Therefore, again, we need to make sure that we get the message across. It is a reminder. The opening will basically state that what follows is a reminder of the guidelines that pertain to them. The body, there are really two areas that we need to look at. Now, first of all, there are parking guidelines or information regarding parking guidelines that are unique to one group and guidelines that are unique to the other group. A third area that needs to be distinguished is the guidelines and information that relates to both of them. Now, if you outlined this situation prior to the actual draft development, you probably or should have been able to distinguish the three specific areas that the body will have to cover. Finally, the closing will be a general closing, maybe a wrap-up if you wish, and some kind of a call for an action. Now, something we really have not talked much about are the CCs, carbon copies, the BCCs, blind carbon copies, attachments, and the enclosures. For those of you who do not know, CCs are limited or available for individuals who do not need to act upon the content of the memo in this particular case, or a letter in other cases, but it is a good to know information. The people in the two, back up at the top, are the ones that have to have some kind of an action. CCs are for information only. Now, BCCs, blind carbon copies, are very unique and frankly not used often. Or seldom used in most cases. These are for individuals who have to know, but it is important that no one else knows that they know. So in an email, a memo, or a letter, if you had an individual or group that would be BCC'd, the only one or ones that would know it would be the person who initiated the from and the individual BCC themselves. Now, if you were to have multiple BCCs, neither one of those or none of those would know the other has been BCC. Attachments and enclosures, I see this very often as being interchangeable. Well, they're not. Attachments mean basically something is attached to, in this case, the memorandum. So, it needs to be physically attached. That could be a staple or a paperclip, the most common. An enclosure, on the other hand, means there's something that is along with. It is typically something that may not be able to be physically attached. Possibly maybe a large document, a book, could be an item, but it has to be along with. So in an example of a memo with an enclosure, you would have the memorandum and the document item possibly within an envelope, maybe a box or something similar to that. Okay, let's move on and take a look now at the particulars. I have 3 examples here of how to write these. The examples are from very basic yet acceptable formats to a more advanced and, shall we say, exceptional or beyond expectation format. Let's take a look. The first one here, sorry for the elongated version, but the first one here starts very simply with the word memorandum. All memos, again, should have that. I have a date. Okay, the date is a little dated here, but I have used this in the past. So it is, we have a date followed by 2. In this case would be day and swing shift employees. You could have day shift employees and swing shift employees, but you cannot have all staff or company members or anything. It needs to be very specific. The from, in this case, I have my name. I made myself Director of Human Resources, and as you can see, there will be a signature. Again, hard copy memorandum must be signed in ink, or it is initialed in ink. The subject here I selected was Parking Guidelines Reminder. Again, short, sweet, to the point. My opening is very short. In this case, I just one line takes care of it all. I could have started with the purpose of this memorandum is to remind you about the parking guidelines for our company. Let's talk about individual guidelines that pertain to select groups. I could have said something like that, but in this case, I used a very short, sweet, to the point sentence that really covers all those. In this case, as a reminder, please adhere to the following parking guidelines. The body begins, and I selected day shift, and the reason why I selected day shift was because up in the 2 I start with day. If it was swing shift and day shift employees in the 2, I would have started with swing shift, but that's again the logical order considerations we need to think about. So I have here day shift. I'm using graphic highlighting. I have a bold header. People involved with day shift will go right there. It's very easy for them to find it, and I present the details. And it's basically day shift employees must park in, and I give the specifics. If they don't have a have not registered their cars and received the white ticket or sticker, then they will be ticketed. And then I talk about where they are forbidden to park. And at day shift employees, they may loan out their parking spaces if they don't use them. Again, that's the information from the situation that relates directly to the day shift. I move on to swing shift. I talk specifically about the information that relates specifically to day shift. Something I need you to note here is that the times. In the situation that I gave you, I did not have consistency in the way the times are presented. So, for example, here I have 3:30 p.m. And I'm making sure I have the 3:30 and the p.m. When we move down to registration, which is the third body area, this relates to both. And then I explain about how to obtain the ticket. when will tickets be handled or available? Note here that I have in here the date and the times. Now, for this purpose, there is a problem with this one, and I'll be more specific. I did not put in here, I have May 12 and 13. What I needed to include was the year. So if this was a current, it would be 2016, 2015, but month, day, and year. Don't do as I did here. Unfortunately, it is incorrect. Also, again with the times, as you will see, I should have kept them consistent. I did not. I have 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. I could have replaced the TO with a hyphen, which would have been fine. However, when I talk about 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., what I should have done was had the 3:00 p.m. dash 5:00 p.m. Actually, I don't need the p.m. next to the 3, since the 3 to 5 is also in the afternoon. So again, you can see how even mistakes can be made without a very close proofing. Finally, I close it up. Very simply, I say questions. If you do, who to contact, how to contact, phone extension, and then a polite courtesy thank you. Now, I did put a CC in here, and I CC'd employee relations. Employee relations is mentioned above in the memorandum, and the reason why I am CCing them is because of a courtesy notice. Now, employee relations, if it was an individual like Bob Smith, I would have had Bob Smith employee relations, but in this case, employee relations is now aware that the day shift and the swing shift have been reminded of the parking guidelines. So again, other than a couple of little issues I pointed out, this would be a perfectly acceptable paper. Now, would this have been a perfect paper or memo? No, it would not. It would probably be on the high end of meets expectations. Let's take a look at some ways that we could improve this visually, not so much content, but visually that would have boosted it into the exceeds expectations. The next one will show you. What I've got here is basically the same memorandum. What I have included here is a chart right in the center. Now, as I might have said, a picture is worth 1,000 words. A chart is worth 1,000 words. Charts would work very well with this particular situation. We have guidelines, we have day shift, swing shift, and there's a relationship. So the chart matches up quite nicely. If you can put information in a chart, do so, but do not try to put information into a chart if it is not appropriate. Okay. So I have the chart. I do have some superscript information as necessary. Sometimes that can be a distractor. Again, it all depends on how much. However, as you can see, this chart or this particular memo is far easier to read than the previous one. Well, I wouldn't say far easier, but it is easier to read than the previous one. Finally, the very last one is unique, and the reason why I have this one is because there are instances where information within a company, not only is it distributed, but it can be posted. Posted, for example, on bulletin boards, in lunchrooms, near time clocks, wherever the case might be. So this next one would be ideal for something like that. What I have here is a Venn diagram. Again, it is a form of a chart. It is colorful, yes, but it is easily, hopefully, if people understand Venn diagrams, understandable. Day shift would know they have unique yellow, blue, swing shift would be unique blue, and the purple or whatever violet color in the center relates to both. Again, this would probably be more on the exceeding expectations, but again, only use this format or be more creative if, and again, if the situation allows it. Don't try to add too much to it. Some people may think this is fluff. Well, no, it's not, because the fluff really is not necessarily in the design, but content. That's where the issue is. Okay, folks, that's about it for this particular exercise. I hope this helps understand, and you should be seeing the results of your submission shortly. Thank you. Talk to you later.